Right, so in this section, I look at developed ideas and experimentation. You can see there the kind of cream colored ones. My thought process is kind of moving on from investigation, and so we can see developed ideas going to realization and experimentation back to investigation, kind of looping around itself. So kind of coming up to the realization stage, and she started to put it together. Um, so I first here was the possible joints. I looked through several joints, and the first idea was to create some panels using some biscuit joints. And then I didn't want the end grain to be shown, so I decided to use edged ones there and take the angle off and then biscuit joint them together so there'll be no end grain shown on the project, which kind of keeps it more watertight, I guess. And then with some advice from Richie, we looked at putting some tongue and groove, and then trying to remove the boxiness. So putting in a section here that would be rounded off, so then I would be able to join this panel to the corner piece, I suppose. And then some further development, instead of, it'd be actually less work putting a tongue and groove, I'll be able to just cut grooves and then cut a narrow strip from my driftwood and then use that as the tongue and glue it up that way. So then this is my plan until we had the time frame cut and the coronavirus kind of came around and kind of threw everything up in the air. So I had to further investigate. I had to look at quicker, more effective ones. Um, the loose groove would be just too slow at this stage, so this wouldn't work. It was strong, but it was just too slow. I didn't have time to cut and glue and everything, so I looked at the finger joint. It was strong, but again slow enough. And then I looked at the butt joint, quick, but um, it was quite weak. So I settled on dowels, which are nice and quick. Set them up in the drill, work away, and then you can even just dry clamp them at that. Um, so then I looked at the locks. My initial idea was kind of a drawer lock, um, and to cut this into the base or the lid initially. But kind of running out of space there and embedding it kind of slow, just not efficient. As well as this, the locks up the front and what's holding up the back, so kind of not as sturdy as I'd like. So I started to look at different kind of locking mechanism, the latch there, the pin, the clip in the bar. So these were all good, but just not right. So I actually kind of settled on the toggle clips. So this narrow bit here, the small bit, could fit on the base, and then the clip itself could fit somewhere here on the actual body. So that would work pretty efficiently. So I had to do some experimentation there on those. Here I started working out some sizes, sketching up the scale, working out measurements. So I was experimenting with different sizes, put them into SolidWorks, see how it looked, fixing them. Then you can see in the sketch here, I had to reduce it, and as well when I reduced the size to 30, I had to reduce that as well. So a little bit more research to be done. I looked at the effects of cigarettes in Ireland, and so up to 60% of litter in Dublin City is cigarette butts, and there's about 3,000 ashtrays or bins to kind of fight that. So quite low when you think about it. My the beach I'm trying to help, I suppose, takes up to 62% of litter caused when you break it down in these areas here. So passing pedestrian gathering points and a place for leisure and entertainment. So it all hits all those. So it adds up. So it's a big area for litter. So it's quite a topical issue. So I looked at my creative craft. I decided on using wood burning. As it's easy in my mood board. It's a personal hobby I have, so I enjoy it, and I'm good skill in it, I suppose, at this stage. So it kind of makes it a personal touch. Deciding on which to use, I was going to use the butane torch and create a stencil and cut out my um, shape. But since we aren't able to get into labs, I had to cut that short. I'll just freehand it and see how that goes. Coming up with a design, I looked at some existing cigarette logos or graphics, and looked at some other ones there. A bit too complex, maybe they're not very appealing. Using their grand, but they're kind of like warning signs almost. So to make it more appealing for the user, I settled on this one. Once it's burnt, it'll look kind of black like this. So I'm gonna sketch that out in the front and then burn it with the pyrography pen. I was to put steam bent brackets on the sides shown here. 4 brackets to either side, steam bent with about an arc of 60 and 25 either side with a round of 15 at the end, just to make it kind of more aesthetic. You know, when it's up on the wall with the round at the corners, everything will be kind of curved and appealing, I guess. So that was the plan, but without the lab now in the steam box, that'll be put aside. So I had to process some more of the wood. So we look at this piece here. I had to adjust my measurements from 40 by 40 to 30 by 30 because of the crack that was split straight through the wood. So I didn't have enough space. So that worked. I had to process it down into these little pieces here and try and work my way around that crack, which was a bit difficult and kind of change everything up. So putting out panels, dry clamping it. So I had to remove 60 mil off these panels here. So I decided to clean one straight off instead of having a bit of one and a bit of the other. So really try and keep the best looking part of the holes made by the ship worms and really try and show them off. And then you've got the heartwood out in the corner there, showing the nice deep red that it has there.